Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of JForex Indicators Explained, we will be considering a new series of indicators. This is Tom DeMark indicator for today's session, and in subsequent sessions, we will be dealing with Tom DeMark's other indicators like sequential and combo. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA to see how we can take advantage of these indicator, the Tom DeMark indicator, to look for the trading opportunities which are likely to have higher probability of making money than losing money. So here, this is the chart of the EURUSD drawn on the hourly time frame. I have plotted this TDI, the Tom DeMark indicator, with the default configuration. If you want this indicator to be on your chart, all you have to do is quick search. If you simply type in Tom, you will have all the Tom DeMark indicators listed, and from there on, you can easily choose. This is the first one. Else, it is listed amongst the momentum indicators. From that list, you can take it out. It is just below the stochastic indicators, various stochastic indicators we saw in last few sessions. Now, coming to its technicalities, the calculation of Tom DeMark indicator is a bit complex, and we are not really likely to get much information on how this indicator is calculated, as it's a proprietary tool, and it's a basic concept, or you can say its intricacies, how it is complete, how it is calculated, and what are the underlying assumptions. Those are not that clearly mentioned anywhere, and I won't go into that. But here for this session, we will be more focused on its application, its uses, how we can look for the interpretation of these indicators output value to look for the opportunities, whether to go long, whether to go short, or simply to stay away from any new trade. This indicator's classical interpretation is that when we have the output of the TDI above zero point 0.7, then that's the low risk environment for taking a long trade. If we have the output of the TDI below zero point 0.3, then that's a high risk environment for taking a long trade. And if it is within this band, zero point 0.7 on the higher side to zero point 0.3 on the lower side, then it is much better to avoid taking any new trades, as there is absence of strong momentum. So we have both these formations where we can also invert its course, as I talked about, taking a long trade with this high probability, high risk, and low risk formation. And when we are trying to go for the short selling opportunities, we can invert the scale. And when we have the output below zero point 0.3, then that's the low risk environment for a short sell trade. And when we have the output above zero point 0.7, then that is a high risk environment for taking a short sell trade. And when we have the output below zero point 0.7 but above zero point 0.3, then it is simply indicative of the sideways absence of a strong momentum. So it is better if we simply sit on the sideline. So this indicator basically tries to measure the strength of the trend, how the trend is developing, whether it is strong enough or whether it is simply going nowhere. So this kind of price moves are taken into consideration and compared to the prior price series formation to see if we are getting a new breakout or a breakout on either side, whether on the bullish side or bearish side, or the range is upholding the range, and it is moving within that narrow range. So we have to take all those factors into account, and then take the trade, so that we have higher probability of having the trade on a profitable side. So now coming to some of the examples here. If we have this output above zero point 0.7, then we can start looking for the opportunities to go buy. So one way to go for the initiation of the long trade is when the output rises above zero point 0.7 from below zero point 0.7, then that is the time we can go for a new trade, initiation of a new long trade, and when we have the output crossing below 0.7 0.3 from above 0.3, that can be the opportunity to go for a new short sale trade. So this is a much clearer, much simpler interpretation of this indicator, and we can consider this formation where we have the value between these to be indicative of the absence of a strong trend, and that means the underlying instrument is not really likely to go anywhere. It might continue to move in a very narrow range, so it is better to avoid taking any new trade and simply wait it out till we see a strong trend developing. So for that, we have these opportunities, we have this formation in place which is likely to guide us for opportunities which are likely to end up on the winning side. So here, if we consider today's price formation, then earlier in the day we had this bullish tendency in the Euro USD, and that was indicated by the TDI's output continuously hovering above zero point 0.7 after it jumped in yesterday's session. But then by the time the European session started, we had this waning of the bullish momentum, and it consolidated in this range for a couple of hours, and after the start of US session we saw the bearish momentum picking up strength, and there's a strong decline of around 50 to 60 pip took place in a very short span of time of around 2 hours. So here that momentum is indicated with this output dipping below zero point 0.3, and even now it is below zero point 0.3. But one way to use this indicator is also to look for the new trades only when this crossover happens, and as the momentum starts to wane, we will have of course this corrective move, and as and when this output value starts to rise again after having dipped substantially lower, we can go for profit booking, or simply sit on the sidelines and wait for initiation of the new trade only when we have fresh dip on the lower side. So that kind of interpretation is also applicable for most of the bullish scenarios where we can wait it out for this trend which has been in strongly bullish zone to stabilize, and only if it dips on the lower side and again regains the momentum, that can be the opportunity, that can be the moment to initiate the new trade. So here we have this TDI output significantly rising above zero point 0.7, as we saw this price formation jumping sharply on the higher side. So this kind of opportunities are going to keep arising from time to time, and we can profit from these opportunities if we are patient enough to ride out the sideways price formation, not suffer too much losses when there is a lack of momentum on either side, and then when the momentum picks up on a stronger side, we can go for the new trade. So that's how these indicators can be utilized. Now let us consider its customization options. For that, I will take you through some of the editing options, what are the editing options, and how we can vary those values, input parameters, to customize this indicator as per the requirement of our trading system. If we are looking for a short term trade or a long term trade, this indicator can be helpful in all the scenarios. Even if you are an intraday trader, more often scalper, you can use this indicator on lower time frames, and it is likely to work quite well. So here, the only parameter which we can vary is this time period. So we have to define the range for which we are looking for the highs and lows and the current price formation where it is in respect of the prior range. So that's how we get the idea of the momentum. If we have significant move away from the initial range, the prior range of this calculation period, then that signifies the strong momentum. If the underlying instrument is not really moving anywhere away from the prior range, then that means it is simply going nowhere and moving sideways. So that's the simple way to understand this indicator and its implication thereon. If you want, you can lower this calculation period. In that scenario, the indicator is going to become a lot more volatile. It will become a lot more responsive to the recent price fluctuation. So here you can see that these extreme values are now being reached much more frequently than what we were seeing when we were using higher calculation period. Now let's try out the higher calculation period also. Now the stabilizing factor is going to be more. We have the stabilization where we can look for this price formation, and here if the underlying instrument is not really going anywhere, in those kind of scenarios we will have this output value within this defined range, and only when the strong trend develops and the momentum is strong enough, we will have these extreme values above this prior range being seen to be sustained. So those kind of opportunities then we can exploit for initiating the trades which are in line with the trend. If we are looking at a bearish scenario, then it is of course better to go for short selling opportunities. If we have the momentum which is strongly bullish, then it is of course better to go for the long trades. So that's the simplest way to take advantage of these indicators output value. Now I will restore it back to 14 output. Coming to these parameters, the line, we have this bluish line. If you want to go for much brighter colors, of course you have the choice to do so. All you have to do is go for any color of your choice. You can go for different color combinations also for defining trend up and trend down. You can also change the styling factor of the line from a plain simple line to any other styling which are provided on the chart can be opted for. So we get these all the options here for styling up our output value. Of course, the value is going to be same, only the chart is going to be as per your taste. Whatever is your color combination choice, you can go for that color combination using these styling factors. So we have these color combinations in place if you want to try it out. So here, for example, you can go for brighter shades and also go for different kind of combinations for figuring out the uptrend and the downtrend. Okay, styling factor, width, if you want to make the output parameter, output line look more prominent. Levels, advanced option. Levels, we have these two levels defined. If you want to add any another level, you can do that. So for example, if you want to add a level of say 0.5, all you have to do is click on this plus symbol, and there you will get the option to add a new level. So here we are getting this option at 0.5, or any other value also can be defined if you want it that way. Okay, now I'm going to remove it. Coming to its advanced editing options, if you want the output value to remain constant throughout the current candle, then you have to opt in for this, and you will have this output value remaining constant. Else, it will keep fluctuating depending on what is the applied price. If you want the highlight time period under calculation to be highlighted, then you have to opt in for this. That makes it easier to remember what is the current calculation period. You can further customize the calculation. You can use the instrument from the chart. So whatever is the instrument on the chart, for that instrument we will have the plotting of this indicator. The candle period can also be defined from the chart, or you can even specify it as per your requirement. So it is going to be different from what is there on the chart if you have defined so. Now, if I go for 15-minute combination, the plotting of this indicator is going to be as per the candle period being 15 minutes, even though the chart is drawn for the hourly candle period. So that is one important distinction which is going to be there. Now I am going to restore it back to use from the chart side. You can use it ask or bid, and you will have both these factors. If you want the indicator to be available on all the periods, then you can go for that, or else you can also specify on which time frames you want this indicator to be available, and only on those time frames you will have this indicator available. All right. So here 5 minutes and hourly are the two time frames on which we have defined this indicator to be available. But if I change it to say 30 minutes or 4 hours or day, we won't see this indicator plotted because we have defined it in that way. All right. So guys, that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there too. For trying out this newly released trading platform, I have included the link in the bio. So check it out and let me know how it works out for you. That's all from my side for today's session. I will be back tomorrow with a new indicator, new formation, new customization techniques, and of course, new ways to go for opportunities in the market. So do come back and we will see how we can exploit the market to our advantage. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.